Welcome to Mow for Show. On this channel, I mainly talk about greens mowers, but sometimes I'll talk about Bermuda grass. If you've been here before, you know the spiel. So today we're going to follow up on when I was talking about backlapping last week. It's maybe been a couple weeks, but I figured I would at least let you know what I do and why I do it. I don't have a mower here. I'm not backlapping at the moment. I did backlap one today. So my brother-in-law messed his reel up and he needed to put a brand new reel on a John Deere 260 SL. So we put a brand new reel on there, and the reel was, I think I got cut 3 times. It was pretty sharp. We put a brand new reel on, put a brand new bed knife on, and we put everything on there and went to go tighten it up, and it was basically cutting all the way across except for one small section. So this is the issue that you run into when you do a brand new reel or you put a brand new bed knife on an old reel. You're going to run into an issue where you have an area of the reel that doesn't cut paper, which means it's not cutting grass. All right. Now, the caveat of all this is you should always go get your reel ground. All right. If you have the ability and the money and you have somebody near you that can do a professional grind on your reel, just go ahead and go do that, because they're going to completely square away your reel. They're going to square away your bed knife, and then they should match up just fine because they were both professionally ground, to zero tolerance, basically. He didn't want to do that, so we went ahead and backlapped it. I can backlap a reel pretty good. I've been doing it for a couple years, and like I said in the last video, the way that I do it could be a little bit opposite of what you think it is. So I'll explain it to you with this reel that I have right here. So I'll show it here in a second, but always go get it ground if you can. Have them put a relief grind on it if you can. By doing that, you'll already be set up for success. And at that point, you should just be able to backlap your mower and have it work just fine. For sure, for the whole year, unless you hit something or you're scalping a lot or just doing something completely ridiculous, you should be able to run that reel all year long and just maintain it with backlapping. Backlapping is more of a maintain sharpness thing than it is to get a mower sharp. All right. Like I said, I've had success backlapping. I always tell customers when they pick up a mower that it has not been professionally ground unless it has. There are some times where I do have them ground because they're a little bit too far off for me to want to take care of. And I'll have them ground. I'll send them off, have them ground. But for the most part, I can get them cutting. Sometimes it's a little bit longer backlapping than it is others, but it's not as hard as you think it is. So anyways, his mower was cutting all the way across except for one small area. And I'm going to tell you what I do. So let me put you down here on this reel, and I will explain what I do, how I do it, and I'll try to explain it as good as I can, honestly. So, okay, on this reel, okay, on the end to end, all right, let's say that you put this is a brand new reel. Let's say it's a brand new reel, all right. You put a brand new reel, brand new bed knife on, just like we did his today, and it was basically cutting all the way across. It was not cutting from here to here. Now there's little cross members that the blades go onto, and that's going to be your references to where it's cut. So it's cutting all the way across, but it wasn't cutting from right there to right there. So, about a 6-inch section. All right. So once you get your reel to bed knife really close to where it's touching the bed knife, but not too much, and then you check for paper, see where it's cutting. If it's cutting for everywhere from here to here, or sometimes it's not cutting on the sides or whatever. Now we're just going to talk about from here to here, all right? Because that's what I did today. I'm going to start backlapping, okay? And depending on how far off I think this actually is, I'm probably only going to use like 120 grit. All right, I'm not going to use 80 grit unless it's something crazy that I got to really get after, because if you start using 80 grit too much, then you can take too much material off, and you're totally defeating the purpose here. but I would just use 120, which is what I did today. So I'm gonna start backlapping the reel, and I'm only going to backlap where the reel is cutting paper. That could be totally opposite of what you think it's going to be because it's not cutting from here to here, and you would think, oh, I need to backlap from here to here to get that part cutting. Totally opposite of what you need to do. You need to only backlap for the first couple of times where it's cutting paper. Essentially, you have a high spot, or it could be a low spot, whatever you want to call it, right here in your reel, and it's not cutting paper. As you backlap from there to there and there to there, you're taking material away. You're taking real material away because you're essentially putting liquid sandpaper on the reel and it's touching the bed knife. So you're sanding away metal from here to there on your reel and your bed knife. Same thing from here to here. You're taking away metal from here to here on the reel and the bed knife. As you do that, you're going to wash it off with water. Okay, you're going to do that. You're going to paste it, 3 or 4 times, maybe 5 times with 120, and just let it spin, and then you're going to rinse it off with water, blow it off with an air hose, get it as dry as you can. Okay, then do it again. All right, test it with paper. Check it with paper. Once you test it with paper, you see if this is cutting yet. It's probably not because you haven't really moved it. You're going to adjust your reel to bed knife. One more click. If it's a Toro, do a couple clicks. If it's a John Deere, just go whoop, whoop. Really slight. Then check right here to see if it's cutting paper. If it's not cutting paper, do the same thing. 120 from here to there and there to there. Do that again. Paste it about 3 or 4 or 5 times. Run the reel, let it work itself in, wash it off with water, blow it off with an air hose as it's spinning, blow it off. You need it to be as dry as possible because if you're going back in here with paper to test it with paper, the paper can't get wet. When the paper gets wet, it immediately will fold over and it won't cut properly. So make sure your paper's dry, your reel and your bed knife are dry. Test it again. Go ahead and test the whole reel. You're probably still going to be cutting from there to there and there to there. Go ahead and tighten it again. We're talking about very minute. So 1 or 2 clicks on a Toro on both sides and a little whoop, whoop on a John Deere. Very slight. Then check right here. This is probably cutting paper by now because that's what happened today. We did it a couple of times. All of a sudden, you're going to notice it's going to start cutting paper right here, okay? At that point, once you've tightened it up and this is getting really close to cutting paper, at that point, you still want to spend more time with the compound on these areas, but you're going to start working that compound in, okay? So you're still spending more time with your brush from there to there and there to there, but you're also going to start backlapping this section because it's getting closer. You're taking away enough material on the side for this to get closer to cutting paper. You'll notice it'll start cutting further and further in, which is what happened today. It started cutting further in that way and further in that way. So start slapping 120 all the way across the reel, whatever compound you're using, but spend more time with the brush on these areas, but still put compound right there. Rinse it off, blow it off, check it again. Test the paper. It's probably cutting all the way across here. All right. Do it one more time. You're using 120 grit, so you're not necessarily like just completely just obliterating your reel or your bed knife. You'll notice that you'll barely even see any material really taken away. It depends on how bad your reel to bed knife is in those areas. Once we did that, it was cutting from there. It was cutting all the way across. Did it one more time all the way across. Everything was good. It was cutting one sheet of paper. Totally fine. I went ahead and hit it with 180. Not for very long. I hit it with 180, and then I rinsed that off, and I went ahead and hit it with 220. Okay, so I'm going less and less and less on my compound. The higher the compound, the less grit you're using. So that's essentially what you do. All right. So most of the time when I put a new bed knife on a reel, it's cutting on the ends, and it's not cutting in the middle. So it'll cut from there to here, like where this cross section is, and from there to there. So I'll do the exact same thing. I'll start only backlapping where it's cutting on the very ends. As I do that and I adjust the reel to bed knife, I'll start working the compound towards the middle, but I won't put any in here. I won't compound this at all. I'll start working it in, working it in, working it in, and adjusting, rinsing it off, blowing it off, adjusting. And as you start adjusting, you'll see that before it wasn't cutting paper all the way from there to there, but it'll start cutting further and further and further and further. Do it again. Wherever it's cutting, put the compound, do your reel to bed knife, check your paper again. You'll find that it's cutting further and further and further to the middle. Okay. Eventually, you're going to be cutting all the way across. You've taken enough material away to get to the middle. At that point, you're going to backlap the whole reel, and you should be good to go. Once again, like I said, it's not necessarily what you should be doing, but if you need to backlap your reel or you want to backlap your reel, start backlapping where it's cutting paper. Adjust your reel every time, rinse it off, blow it off, adjust your reel, find out if that area that it's cutting paper keeps moving. It should keep moving further across the reel as you take material away. Keep doing it and keep doing it. If it's so bad that you can't get it, like if you're using 80 grit or something ridiculous, and you just, because I mean, if you're using a McLean or a Rolex or a homeowner model, you may have a lot more problem getting it to do what I'm trying to get it to do. I'm doing this on greens mowers, so it's a lot easier because the tolerances are a lot tighter. But if you're backlapping too much and you just can't get it, just go take it to somebody and have it ground. That's what you should be doing anyways, honestly. But if you want to try this, you can. So just start backlapping where it's cutting paper, and then you'll slowly move it towards the middle or move it towards the area that's not cutting. Like I said, you're taking material, you're taking metal off your reel and your bed knife in those areas that you're backlapping. So be aware of that. You are taking material off. You don't want to take too much off. Worst case scenario, as long as you haven't completely just backlap the hell out of it until it's at zero, you can always go take it somewhere to get it ground. You know, a new bed knife on a greens mower is like $40. Not that big a deal, honestly. Just buy a new one. When it comes in, go take it to have it ground by a professional. A new reel, you shouldn't have. I mean, unless your reel is already really close to being out, you're not going to backlap your reel down to zero. Even if you have to buy a new reel for a greens mower, $300. You know, it's not the end of the world. But that's what I do. Honestly, that's what I do. That's my secret or whatever. It may be opposite of what you thought it was. It may be exactly what you thought it was, or maybe you haven't even thought of that at all. But if you want to try that, you can. I know some people are going to hate that, and people are going to be pissed, but it is what it is. So just to let you know, that's what I do. Thanks for watching.